ASEAN country has a still bigger problem for us. And then we should try to improve the human resources and capacity building for our human resources. For the next, we have still have a opportunity. For example, in the future, we have ASEAN economic community. For in this case, we should have international collaboration among of ASEAN country to exchange the energy and then to have the single ASEAN energy network. And then renewable target for each country in ASEAN also is very good. But the problem is how can to synchronize our regulation and the foreign. And the problem is if we have a very good target in renewable energy, but if we don't have any energy manufacturer, it's also a bigger problem. For the future, as the threat, we should try to solve the problem for foreign energy manufacturer to increase the capability of our manufacturer. Let we see for the new rule of Indonesia since 2014, we have the target for renewable energy. For example, this is for new and renewable energy, but 2050 also we have the target from national. When we analyze for these two graphs, we can see the government of Indonesia has a good willingness to reduce the share of oil and promote the use natural gas and renewable energy in the future. Let me start from the regulation of renewable energy Indonesia. Since 2007, Indonesian government has changed the paradigm of energy security. In the past, energy could be used as a national income. But since 2014, Indonesian government changed that from all paradigms to the new paradigms. The new paradigm is as the energy can be used as national development capital. It means the energy could not be used as fuel anymore. This means the energy should be used as the feedstock, in which the feedstock should be converted, become the value added for next economic process. For this case, we have four main challenges for to use the energy as development capital in Indonesia. Maybe another participant from ASEAN country can take the benefit from this data for your country. For example, in Indonesia, we have low oil production capability and our refinery. Second is we have the problem with the decline of fossil energy and gas reserve. The next is the portion of an oil and gas in national energy mix is almost 70% now. The last is the increase of the middle income class of Indonesian people from 45 million in 2010 become 86 million in 2020. Therefore, if we can solve these four main challenges, we can implement the energy as development capital in Indonesia. Next, let's we see the condition is Indonesia. This is the map of Indonesia. The right down of this slide. You can see if we divide the west part and the east part of Indonesia. In the west part of Indonesia, the demand create on supply. It means we have the market, but for the east of Indonesia, we have the supply. This means the supply should create the market. This means we should implement the renewable energy in the west and east part of Indonesia, because in the east part of Indonesia, the energy price is quite high. Therefore, if we implement the renewable energy in east part of Indonesia, it's a good way to improve the economic situation in east part of Indonesia. This is the next problem of Indonesia. Also, we have the energy poverty. It means the energy poverty for east part of Indonesia is higher than the west part of Indonesia. This means if we want to increase the economic, we should try to increase the economic from the east part of Indonesia to the west part of Indonesia. And then since 2014, our president has released that we should reduce the CO2 emission up to 29% by our capability. and up to minus 41%, up to 41% by international supporting. We try to analyze such kind of number. From our GTAP economic modeling, we can get the conclusion that if Indonesian government decrease the CO2 emission up 45% is the best number. It means by this we can still get the revenue, and then we can decrease the real carbon tax around 45.98 US dollar per ton of CO2. Is quite big economic value that we can sell to international community. On the other hand, if we implement such kind of number, we can get the some advantage, for example, low or zero emissions, and then we can get the better public health, and then abundant resources. And then if we try to use the renewable energy business in Indonesia until we can decrease CO2 emission up to 45%, it means we can create a new job opportunities for the people. You can see that is the calculation of our modeling. We can get the sums, how to say, economic economic advantage for this point. Next, our the other problem of Indonesian renewable energy is the energy price is quite low. Our minister decree has released that the renewable energy price is should be 85% from the local energy price. The local energy price is mainly by the power plant from the coal. So it means the renewable price should be sell below than the price of the coal. This is a big challenge for us to implement the renewable energy. But when we see from the area for the east part of Indonesia, this is the energy, this is the energy price from the renewable energy, and then this is the energy price from the local energy. If we implement the renewable energy in the east part of Indonesia, of course, we can get some benefit. The selling price of renewable energy is lower than the local price of the energy presently. We can see the data about that the East Kalimantan, Sulawesi, and then the how to say Nusa Tenggara, Papua, West Kalimantan, Bangka Belitung, Maluku has a strong economic potential for the implementation of renewable energy. Next, let's we discuss also about the funding scheme of renewable energy. You can see from our publication paper for renewable energy this year, you can see that there are some funding resources if we want to have a business for new and renewable energy. For example, from the public, including from the ministry, and then for non-public from the grant in private investment and community investment now. Our research center in Gadjah Mada University, we have implemented some renewable energy business for the public in some part of Indonesia, for example, in Sumatra, in Papua, in Kalimantan, also in Sulawesi, by using the community funding, also cooperation with government and private also. Furthermore, we should have some support also from governments. For example, we should have the revenue, and then we can get some expenditure from the government and the financial support from the government if you want to implement the renewable energy. Let me see from the present data. If you see from the present data, as the time goes by, the economic situation become worse and even worse. For example, in Indonesian, at the first quarter of Indonesian economic fiscal year, the Indonesian growth economic is minus 2.97, but after 3 months, the economic growth become minus 5.32, and become minus 1.2%. This indicate the business are still not increased anymore since the COVID. The next is, if you can discuss about the use of energy, basically coal, gas, oil are the minus growth of the economic energy consumption. But quite surprised that renewable energy consumption increase become positive. This means to keep the energy availability, we can use the renewable energy up post the COVID. And then the increase of the public income by the involvement of community in the electric program should be conducted for after the COVID-19 pandemic. And then I would like to say also the economic activity in the field of fossil energy should be focused not only to develop new field, but to optimize the existing oil and gas field, because we should increase the energy mix of the renewable energy. And then if you can see the data, Indonesian government during the COP21 by Paris Agreement, Indonesian government has a strong commitment to decrease the CO2 emissions to around 20%, 29%. But Indonesian energy, renewable energy is quite big, around 443 gigawatt. This is big resources. And then if you see the data, the energy price, for example, this is the condition here, the consumption of oils become negative, and this is always decrease, not always, but become decrease as a function of as the time goes by. And then I would like to say the pandemic COVID should be a good moment for us, for Indonesian and ASEAN countries, to achieve their national target of renewable energy. For example, in Indonesia, around 23% in 2025. And this is the data. If you want to implement the renewable energy, we should consider the cost of production of renewable energy a function of energy resources and as a function of technology. This means the price of renewable energy are different for each technology and are different for the energy resources and are different for the area in which the renewable energy can be implemented. Next, you should consider that the cost of production on renewable energy is affected also by lifetime of power plant business. For example, the data, let's we see if you use the Maluku for 23 years, the energy price become lower. But if you have the business point only for 8 years, the renewable energy price become higher. So this is also the strong consideration for the government. If you want to implement the renewable energy, you should have a long contract for the investor. Next, let me see the subsidy. The subsidy basically in foreign countries such as in Europe or in America, uh, we should have considered that if you want to implement the renewable energy, you should balance the program to long term of fossil energy and carbon tax. It means from the carbon tax price, you get the money to pay the renewable energy price. And then for the other consideration is the subsidy of renewable energy permanently without the implementation of carbon tax will increase the energy price and cause a higher of welfare loss. To increase the welfare for the public, for the country, you should implement the renewable energy plus the carbon tax. This means if you use the energy from the fossil fuel, you should pay the tax because you release the carbon tax. Next, this is the basic theory of renewable energy and consideration. Now, what we have done in Indonesia and we have what we become the development of our success story in renewable energy. Basically, in Yogyakarta, we have the big area for the public waste, for the municipal waste. We try to analyze for this is the data for the how to say the municipal waste categorization in Yogyakarta, in our city. We did laboratory work and we found the heating value of the waste from municipal waste in Yogyakarta around 4,900 kilocalorie per kilogram. This is similar for the lignite coal in Indonesia. This means you can postpone the use of the coal by using and we can convert to use the waste from municipal waste to be the energy sources. If we do such kind of business, we can reduce the total emission around 44,000 tons of CO2 per day. And then you can produce the electricity, and then you can get the fertilizer for the farming. And in this case, we can reduce the global warming potential around 45%. Next is we try to propose to our government in Indonesia, we can use some technology. For example, conventional gasification, incineration. It means you have the waste and you burn and you get the heat, and the heat you can use to turn on the electricity. Or you can use the landfill. From the landfill, you can get the gas, and the methane gas you can sell to the public. This is some proposed. Next is we can use the biofuel also. For example, biodiesel from the how to say empty empty fruit bunch of coconut also, and also for kelapa sawit in Indonesia also. We have already conduct some research, and we found the developing technology is still, this means the technology is still in the lab. For example, wave energy, fuel cell, hydrogen based energy. But for the middle class of energy, it's mean we have proved that the technology can be used, but still not in economic viewpoint. For example, solar energy, wind energy, biogas, and municipal solid waste. But for the future energy can use now, for example, biomass, biofuel. It means you have the fuel for the liquid fuel, and you add some percent of the bio condition, and hydropower, solar, and geothermal also. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, Indonesia is an island country, and most of ASEAN countries are island countries. This means we have the potential of microalgae. Microalgae, this is the picture of microalgae. And then this is we can use the microalgae for biodiesel. If the strong point of a microalgae is, if you farm the microalgae from the sea, yeah, and microalgae should consume the around CO2. This means if you run the program of microalgae for the business, this means you can reduce your CO2 consumption. You can reduce your CO2 reduction. This is very good. For CO2 consumption, for example, for a year and per hectare around 178,000 ton per year. And microalgae you can use to be the after gas, kerosene fraction, and diesel fuel fraction. For example, the process you should cultivate the microalgae, and then you do the harvesting and drying, and then you can extract to get the biodiesel. If you do the business for microalgae, you should consider not only for the bioenergy. The microalgae, the waste of microalgae, for example, this, if you add with the some spirulina from ASEAN countries, you can get the fish and or for food, and then you can get also for energy. It means we have the security of energy. If you conduct the business renewable energy from microalgae, you have the business for the security of energy, and the business of the security of food. The next is this is the economic consideration. Then the IRS quite good, 30.04%. This means this is very good value for future business. Presently, we have some consideration research, future research with the Pertamina also to enhancement the renewable energy from the microalgae. This is in Yogyakarta. You can see we have how to say the algae park, and then if you go to come to Yogyakarta, you can see this also. This is the video about our research center and our algae park in Yogyakarta. Uh, Maybe I will make the faster of the video. Uh, we got some funding also from USAID. We got some funding also Indonesian government, even from Pertamina, also received some funding also to conduct the microalgae. And then this is the very big research group in Yogyakarta, and they become the center of excellence in biodiesel technology now from Indonesian governments. This is, we have the planting for microalgae around 2,500 meters square. And then we have the extraction area also for to get the gas. This is the data. And then you can see the video by yourself. Yeah. And then from methanol also, we propose some technology for our government. And this year, after post-COVID, we have some contract business with government to implement the biomass waste to be biomethanol, because methanol can be used to produce the biodiesel. If we don't have methanol, we could not produce the biodiesel for the renewable energy. And then this is the economic consideration. It means that we can reduce. On the other hand, for the solar energy, we have a community service for the remote area in Indonesia. For example, we have our product for inverter development also, and almost 100% the component are ready in Indonesia. And then for the future, I would like to recommend you, first, biofuel and biomass-based energy development should be considered for the ASEAN countries. The second, if we want to develop the future renewable energy in ASEAN, we should increase the capability for energy technology development strategy. And then national power plants should be developed for national champion for each country in ASEAN. The next, we should consider development of the renewable energy on the basis of marine countries consumption. For example, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei Darussalam, Philippines. We should think about that. And then this is the area for basically the steps. We should have the rural electrification, and then we have the grid integration for ASEAN, and then we should have regional policy advice. Basically, or if the big universities or big research center in ASEAN countries should collaborate to develop renewable energy directives together. And then we should provide the guideline for renewable energy. And then we should have open data for the renewable energy information. And for after or post COVID-19, we should design how can we have the good investment and bankability of investment, and then permit a procedure for renewable energy in ASEAN. And then for the final, we should have a strong commitment to increase the capabilities of human resources of each ASEAN countries by using the integrated expert. And then we should develop the network. And then I do believe that this meeting for ASEAN student communities is a good way to implement such kind of the toward ASEAN energy security by using the international network. Thank you very much for the time. So I think that's my presentation, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Dan Darlianto, for a very great presentation. So from your explanation, I can conclude at least 3 points. First, actually, most of your presentation focuses on Indonesia as the largest country in the region in the term of the wide area. And in this case, yes. Okay, and in this case, the energy demand increases, but unfortunately, Indonesia can provide the people with fossil fuels instead of the renewable energy, so that the renewable energy in the country need to be increased, in its supply and ensure the affordability for the society. And the second point is in optimizing the use of renewable energy, there must be a combined funding scheme from publics and non-public or private sector. And regarding renewable energy subsidy, we need to balance it with the carbon tax. And the third point is we can also maximize the potencies of local area to produce renewable energy. So as this
Yes.
example here that you have mentioned
Yes.
before is the waste to energy program, in which Indonesia is developing pembangkit listrik tenaga sampah, yeah, as the major program from the
Yes.
government,
Yeah.
biofuels,
Yes. Yes.
microalgae, and also
Yes.
from UGM itself, Indonesia have already developed many researches regarding the renewable energy production improvement. So
Yes.
maybe I would like to ignite the first question before we start the discussion session. I
Yes.
actually would like to ask you about your opinion in growing the potencies of nuclear energy
Yes.
in ASEAN, not only in
Yeah.
Indonesia, but maybe you would
Yes.
like to
Yes.
highlight
Yes.
Indonesia. It is okay, but we
Yes.
talk in Southeast Asia, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. Basically, I did my postdoctoral fellow in Germany at the Department of Nuclear Safety Research Institute, actually, and my dissertation is the design of the mathematical modeling and experimental modeling on the counter current flow limitation, in which the counter current flow limitation is the accident scenario of loss of coolant accident in nuclear reactor. This means from the technical viewpoint, I have a close relation to the nuclear power. Uh, from from the viewpoint of mine, I'm really supporting for the nuclear energy program because nuclear energy has a strong and high energy density. The first point. The second is nuclear energy has the energy price is quite low. For example, if you produce 1 kilowatt hour of energy, the price of the nuclear energy is around 2 until 4 US dollar per US dollar cent per kilowatt hour. We compare for the coal. Coal is around 4 until 5. It means the energy price of nuclear power is much lower than the coal and much lower than the oil. The next is from the viewpoint of physics. Actually, the nuclear power plant has a plan from the first generation, second plus generation, third generation, and third plus generation. I would like to say to the audience that the generation from third and third plus generation that we call as the pressurized water reactor and boiling water reactor are the most safe power plant in the world now. Meanwhile, in some countries like Japan and also in Russia, they had the problem with the second generation of nuclear power. This means if we want to implement the nuclear energy for the future, we should consider the nuclear energy for the third plus generation. And then, for example, one reactor is around 1000 megawatt. If you have a three reactor for one area, and each country, each the board of country has one reactor with five power generations. This means you can produce a high energy density for the public. Yeah, for the safety, for example, in ASEAN, of course, Indonesian area of like Java, Sumatra, we are in the ring of fire geography. Of course, to make the public become a worry for the nuclear power. But basically, since the development of technology, you can put the reactor not on the ring of fire, but you can transfer the energy by the how to say by underground cable. This is the very safe area, safe the way to use the nuclear energy. If you use the total energy of Indonesian by using the renewable energy, I would like to say it's not enough to support the future energy, to support the future economic in Indonesia. We should try to think about the nuclear power. And in Indonesian energy rule, or Indonesian energy policy has been stated that we can use the nuclear power to support and to achieve the Indonesian electricity for the future, but still in consideration as the last option for the Indonesian. But from my viewpoint, we should have the idea, we should keep the point to use the nuclear power for the future. Thank you.
Okay, so actually the nuclear power is potential, but we
Yes.
have to wait until everything will be very safe. So we need to ensure our government, we need to ensure our society that nuclear power is safe.
Yeah. Basically, we have the data. Indonesian
Yeah.
public, around 60% of Indonesian public can accept the nuclear power. This is the data, but the main problem is country commitment, the leader commitment of each country in ASEAN should be developed, should be have the empowerment from the physical point, from the knowledge, to increase their acceptability for the nuclear. This is the our big task for the future, I think, for ASEAN countries, not only Indonesia.
Okay. Okay, so related to my questions regarding the nuclear power, as we know that maybe the government of Indonesia has already planned to, develop nuclear power in several regions. I have taken three questions from the audience. The first one is from Aldea Evelina. In general, actually, she is asking about how can the government mappings the potencies of renewable energy in Indonesia, ranging from Sumatra to Papua, which energy sources, renewable energy sources, can be developed in each region.
Okay. Should I answer directly or?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Aldia, for the very nice questions. This is from the viewpoint of technical, this is very difficult question because Indonesia is a big country, and then we have a long, how to say, long coastal line also Indonesia, and then we have a lot of hidden energy potential also. Basically, in the physics, we should have the, how to say, we should invest some money to make the energy mapping potential. But we have the other way, especially we have satellite also, and then we have the data of Indonesian energy from the photo also, that we call by GPS technology now in our research center. I have one research group in our research center to develop Indonesian energy database. Yeah, for example, the energy from biomass, also the energy from hydro, the energy from geothermal. From the geothermal, we could not use the second data. Yeah, you should have the first data. But for biomass energy, for the how to say, for the hydropower energy, for the microalgae, and then for the biodiesel energy, for example, from kelapa sawit, yeah, we can get the data from the picture from the air, yeah, from the picture. By using the image analysis, you can distinguish which kind of the tree, which type of the tree, and then you can get for each tree has the different value of heating value. Heating value correlate to the, how to say, the calorie of energy. And then from the area, you can calculate the energy potential. And then also from the picture, you can calculate the elevation of the hydro area. And then you can calculate also for the, how to say, engineering head. And then you can calculate also the potential energy of the, how to say, hydro energy. But for renewable, for the other like geothermal, you should conduct the exploration procedure. This is a very big task because you should spend some money. For example, for one, how to say, for one hole you drill, you spend around the 10 million US dollar for the for geothermal. This means for one hole, the capability to get the data around 80% for the exploration process for the geothermal. But for the biodiesel, for the energy from biomass, for energy from the, how to say, from the wind, also you can calculate from the wind velocity, and from the wind velocity you can calculate the wind power. This is it's not difficult. But for the biomass also you can get the photo from the air. From the photo you can analyze by using the image processing technique, and you can get the data for that. But now the photo are become the open data for the international. Yeah. Okay, that's my answer.
Thank you very much for the answer. Hopefully, Miss Aldea, Dr. Den Darlianto has already answered your question. And the second question, we have here the question from Malaysia. Hello,
Yeah.
Malaysia. Good afternoon from Indonesia. So we have here Muhammad Rizky Zafran Muhammad Razif. He asked about, it's still related to my questions regarding the nuclear power. So the question is, how do we dispose the remains or the balance of the nuclear power consumption? And where is the possible secure places in Indonesia or other ASEAN
Yeah.
countries if this is to be implemented in the future? That's the question
Yep.
from Mr. Muhammad Rifki Zafran.
Yeah. Basically, because the nuclear power produce quite big of electricity and produce big energy. This means maybe if you use for the small country, you can have the excess of energy. For this reason, ASEAN countries should develop, for example, that we call ASEAN electricity grid connection together. We should have the, for example, if Indonesian has the excess energy from nuclear power, we can sell to Philippines, for example. We can sell to Singapore. We can sell to Vietnam. We can sell to the other country, as they have in Europe. In Europe, they have a European electricity network grid. Well, I think for the ASEAN country, we should consider that we have a common electricity grid in which for each country that have the excess electricity can sell to the other country that has small electricity access. For this reason, if we want to implement the nuclear energy, I think some area has a possibility in Indonesia, for example, in Kalimantan. Kalimantan has the smallest ring of fire. It means the history of the earthquake in Kalimantan is quite low. This means we have a potential to build the nuclear power in Kalimantan also. In 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 the other country like Vietnam, I think Vietnam close to the sea, and the seawater can use as the coolant water for the nuclear power. Vietnam has a possibility to use the nuclear power, and then also Philippines. But Philippines, I think they have the earthquake problem also. But Indonesia in Kalimantan, also in Bangka Belitung also, and then in Vietnam. I think such kind of country can use the exchange energy access, and then they can sell the excess of energy to the other country. For example, Malaysia also, you can build the energy from the nuclear energy. For example, in the north part of Kalimantan area, yeah, you can build that, and then if we have the how to say the common electricity grid, we can exchange the energy together, and this is become the strong of ASEAN in the world. Thank you, Mr. Rizky.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's actually safe to how to say to I don't know, to save the nuclear ways
Of course,
in
yeah.
the region of
Yeah,
ASEAN? Yeah.
for the waste, yeah, for the waste, actually there are some way to store the nuclear fuel waste. For example, by underground geographical safe, and also by stockpile by the pipe. Also, this is the common way that used in the some country in Europe also. As you know, in ASEAN country like Indonesia, we have the other potential of nuclear fuel. For example, in Europe they use uranium, right? In US they use the uranium also. In Japan also they use uranium. In Indonesia and also some country in ASEAN, for example, Malaysia, we have the potential about the future fuel for the nuclear power. For example, we have how to say thorium potential. This is the potential for 10 or 20 years later for new fuel of a nuclear power, no nuclear fuel. And then the radiation level also, the radiation level of thorium is 10 times lower than the radiation level of uranium. This is a quite new good news for the risk of accident potential for the nuclear. But in general, if you use the standard operational procedure for the nuclear power by the good way, the high risk for the accident is quite low, I would like to say, especially for the third generation of nuclear power, the third plus generation of the nuclear power. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Dendarlianto. Hopefully, Mr. Rifki, the question from Mr. Rifki has already answered. So it is also answered the question from Greg Sigmund Quilaneta, yeah, regarding the
Okay.
nuclear waste. So
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
the double strike. All right. So the third question is from again Mr. Anggito Abimanyu. In general, he is actually asking about the potency of, instead of changing the substance, can ASEAN countries improve the technology? So actually the question state like this: among all the threats, I think we can consider that oil and coal produce can still be categorized as a strong economic reliance in some countries.
Okay.
How can
Yes.
ASEAN adapt in changing one of the main economic change to something that they are new to? Isn't it better for ASEAN to actually, rather than change the substance, it is better to improve the technology because it is less threatening from the for the environment rather than changing the substance.
Okay,
Right,
thank you.
Mr.
Basically, in some part, the questions is quite right, yeah.
Yep.
But in some part, we could not use because the technology and then the conversion of the fuel, yeah, has the limitation. This is from Dr. Anggito Abimanyu from he's not student anymore, right? He's a Dr. Anggito Abimanyu. He's a lecturer in Gajah Mada University also, yeah? Yeah, is it true?
Well, he is not stated his where he comes from actually.
Yeah, Pak Anggito Abimanyu is our senior from our research center also.
I
Yeah,
see.
he one of the people who signed the development of a Center for Energy Studies in 1997, if
Oh,
I'm not wrong.
great! Welcome,
Yeah.
Mr. Anggito Abimanyu, Sugeng Rawuh.
Yeah, basically, I would like to say the if you use the how to say the oil and gas, basically the oil and gas and coal have have still the economic potential, of course, but the problem is the resources has limitation. For example, if you use if you increase the production of the oil, the problem is the reservoir condition. Yeah, if you in the future, because you produce a lot of oil in the past, in the future, you should use the enhanced oil recovery technology if you want to get more oil in the future. But as you know, for 1 barrel oil produced by using the UR technology, it should be higher price than the oil get from the natural process. But the second is the potential of oil and gas in Indonesia move from the onshore to the offshore. The production price should be higher. Yeah, and then if you produce the energy from oil and gas and from the coal, basically the value added that you can result it from the business activity is quite low if we can move from the fossil fuel energy to the renewable energy. Yeah, as you know, the renewable energy has a smaller CO2 emission to the compared to the fossil fuel energy. If you get the business for the renewable energy, it means you should develop uh, how to say the supporting business and the other business and the other production capabilities and a lot of business around the renewable energy production. This means if you calculate from the input and output analysis, we have the data. Last year, our scientists in our research center has already calculated that if you have the if you increase the 1% of renewable energy in Indonesia, you have a strong or you have a higher input output economic balance rather than if you increase the production of oil and gas. This means for oil and gas in the future, you should produce the oil and gas not as energy, but as the feedstock for the next business process. It means I don't want, I will not say that let move to renewable energy, let leave the oil and gas. No, let move to renewable energy as electricity production, but let use the fossil energy as the feedstock for the business or for the industry. That's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, so actually, if I can take a summary, um, we also need to work on the parallel side. Yeah, we
Yes,
need
of
to
course.
slowly change to the renewable energy, but also improve the quality of our fossil fuels, so it will not harm the environment. So it's the point
Yeah,
of
but the
your
fossil energy should be used for as a feedstock for the industry.
I
For
see.
example,
Okay.
for example, the coal you can use coal, and then you
Yeah.
can make the coal derivation product. For example, they become the coal gasification of coal, and then the gas you can change the gas from the coal to be the biomethanol gas, yes, and syngas to be biomethanol, and then you can use to produce the renewable energy. Of
Okay.
course,
Thank you
we
very
have
much.
a smaller CO2 emission also, yeah.
Yeah, but we can minimize the carbon waste
Yes,
from the use
yes,
of
yes,
renewable
yeah,
energy. All right. So the
yeah,
last
that's
question
true.
um, from Miss Nadia Maharani, and actually she's asking about the very technical questions regarding
Uh-huh.
the renewable energy sources. She is asking, can tobacco be used as potential renewable sources?
Yeah, this is there are some debate for this topic in the past. Yeah, basically, for I would like to say some people came to my office 3 years ago, and then they proposed to me, please consider the tobacco as the resources for the future resources of how to say the renewable energy, for example, biodiesel and biofuel. In general, as long as you have the liquid, yeah, and the liquid has the fat, you can convert to the energy. But each liquid has the limitation of the heating value. If you use the tobacco has the low high heating value. It's a low has a lower high heating value than the heating value of, for example, how to say, kelapa sawit also. Yeah, and then it has a lower heating value compared to the Sangon wood. Also has a lower heating value compared to the wood from Kaliandra also. Yeah, this means I don't want to recommend to use the, how to say, the tobacco as resources for renewable energy. Yeah, this is the, but anyway, the science become change every years. Yeah, the knowledge improve every years. Maybe in the future people can get the solution from the tobacco, but up to now I would like to say, there is a high risk and high economic high cost if you want to get the energy from tobacco, I guess. I think so. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so actually, lots of research need to be expanded to
Yes,
look the eligibility of such I don't know, product maybe
yes, yeah,
to
yeah.
produce the renewable energy. Okay, so thank you very much, Miss Nadia, for the question, and I would like to ask again Dr. Dendarlianto to give a closing statement.
Okay, thank you very much. Basically, uh, the COVID-19 is a good moment for us, for ASEAN country, to increase the use of renewable energy in our energy mix. Not only Indonesia, because almost of all ASEAN country has the potential to use the has potential of renewable energy. And then international pressure also, and COP21 meeting result also indicate that we should increase the renewable energy portion of in our energy mix. This is the first. The post COVID should be become a good moment for us to employ the renewable energy for our energy mix first. The second is, as ASEAN countries, we have ASEAN economics, ASEAN economic, how to say, market. Yeah, we have a free market of ASEAN. This means we should have a good communication, yeah, for each country of ASEAN in the field of energy. For example, for the chain of energy use, for the chain of energy data, and then to synchronize development of energy for each country. For example, if we have a coal power plant production is quite higher in Indonesia, maybe for the future we should have ASEAN energy grid connection. Therefore, the solidarity for ASEAN countries become higher and higher as the time goes by. I think that's, let's we start to be good ASEAN, to be bigger ASEAN community, and to be big economic power, to be big energy security for our countries in ASEAN. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dendarlianto, for giving such interesting discussion. We really appreciate that, and we're hoping that you might be pleased if we invite you again for another fruitful discussion in the near future. And so I have to end the second session here as we move
Yeah,
to our third session. I see here Dr. Ganewati Uriandari has already come.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I must to leave the meeting. Yeah. Thank you very much for the time.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you very much. See you again.
See you again.
Okay. So as for now, we can continue to our third speaker. I would like to invite Dr. Ganewati Wuryandari, MA, and she will explain to us about integration of energy in ASEAN. And I will introduce you to our speaker. So, Dr. Ganewati Wuryandari is a researcher in Lembaga Ilmu Pengetahuan Indonesia, or the Indonesia Institute of Science, specifically in the Center of Politic Research. She finished her master's degree from the Department of Politics and International Relations, Monash University, and continued her doctoral degree in University of Western Australia. She has specific research focus on foreign policy studies, contemporary international relations issues, and border issues. She has lots of great experiences as she has published several books such as Indonesia Foreign Policy in the Middle of Domestic Politics in 2008 and Security Issues of Indonesia and Timor-Leste 2007. Maybe as you can see on the screen for the experience of Dr. Ganewati. Okay, so I would like to remind, yes, this is the experience of Dr. Ganewati Wuryandari as our third speaker. Thank you very much, committee. And I would like to remind Dr. Ganewati to deliver your presentation for 25 until 30 minutes. Yeah, you can operate your PowerPoint presentation by yourself, Dr. Ganewati, if you please. Committee will help to inform the remaining time. So again, I would like to remind for the audience, please give your questions to the chat box because in the discussion, I will take at least 3 interesting questions answered by the speaker, Dr. Ganewati. Okay, so Dr. Ganewati, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Novita. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished Dean of the Faculty Communication and Diplomacy, Pertamina University, Chair of International Relations Study Program, Pertamina University, and all speakers, even though I miss some of them. Dear students and participants, first of all, thank you so much to Pertamina University for inviting me to join in this international seminar we entitled Towards Regional Energy Resilience. I am very honored and happy to be here. Let me introduce myself, even though the moderators have already introduced me, but I'm a bit. My name is Ganewati Wuryandari. Currently, I'm a researcher and also as the director at the Pusat Penelitian Kewilayahan Lembaga Ilmu Pengetahuan Indonesia, Research Center for Area Studies, Indonesia Institute of Sciences, known as P2W-LIPI. And this afternoon, I will talk about integration of energy in ASEAN. Even though I have to make disclaimer about myself that I'm not expertise in the energy sector like the previous speaker, but I will try because it is also part of my research on foreign policy, Indonesian foreign policy. So I will start with my PowerPoint. Give me a minute to share the screen. Can you see it?
Yes, maybe you can, for the slideshow button.
Yes. Wait. Huh. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think the topic is indeed very strategic that In the last decade, energy security has become a global issue and the foreign policy agenda in the world countries. Energy, including oil, gas, coal, solar, hydropower, and wind, is not only seen as important component in national economic growth and an international commodity market, but has also strategic value in the interest of national and international political security. The increase of industrial economic activity and the rapid growth of the world population have driven an increase in energy demand, while the amount of energy supply has become increasingly limited. In this situation, cooperation between countries in the framework of security energy sector is very crucial, especially from the 10 Association of Southeast Asian Nation, ASEAN member countries. We have already known that ASEAN has long-standing goal of integrating their respective energy system. However, ASEAN has continued to encounter some problems. So what the possible future for the integration of energy in ASEAN is? This is the focus of my talk, and to have this discussion, I made an outline as follows. Introduction, and then followed by overview trends and challenges, securing energy resilience, cooperation and connectivity, and the last, the future of ASEAN energy integration. When we talk of ASEAN, if ASEAN is a single country, it is the fifth largest economy in the world after the US, China, Japan, and Germany. ASEAN is one of the promising regions with most of its members are emerging economic countries. However, ASEAN has been facing the challenge to significantly expand energy provision in order to ensure further economic growth and accommodate rising energy demand resulting from population growth and rising living standards. The population in ASEAN region is 115 million in 2014 and will increase approximately to 115 million by 2025. Compared to 2040, growth in the use of fossil fuels by 2025 will range from 31% for oil, 90% for coal, and 65% for natural gas. Most of the projected increase in electricity demand over this period will be supplied by coal, 42%, and natural gas for 23%, and large hydroelectric installation for 20%. The remaining 50% is expected to come from a mix of renewable sources, including geothermal, bioenergy, wind, solar, and small hydroelectric installation. However, the contribution are very small. The figure 1 in the screen, which I cited from Aloysius Gaba-Pranadi, also shows the increasing electricity demand for industry and commercial by year 2005 and 17. Southeast Asian countries is now accounts for 36% of global energy consumption, and yet faces challenges for energy access. Approximately 439 million of the population don't have access for electricity, and 187 million use still use traditional biomass for cooking. Another future of energy trend in ASEAN is disparity of energy sources. Energy reserves are very substantially with respect to general availability and specific sources. Myanmar, for example, is rich of hydropower and gas, while Singapore does not have any. The 10 ASEAN member states are continuing to depend on fossil fuels, gas, and coal as main sources of energy. However, excluding Brunei, Darussalam, and Indonesia, the region has limited oil and natural gas supply to meet this rising demand. Stagnating oil and natural gas reserves have reduced ASEAN production, and some countries that have historically have been exporters such as Indonesia and Malaysia and Vietnam have begun to import fossil fuels. Increasing energy import to meet the growing domestic demand will challenge the region's energy security. The fourth feature of energy trends is the existing disparities between the 10 ASEAN member states. Not only do they differ in terms of economic strength, population size, geographical condition, and political system, but also regarding their energy system. There exists significant variation in primary energy use rate, for example. The three countries in ASEAN, like Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, accounted for around 73% the region primary energy demand in 2012. There are also variation in the overall energy mix. The energy mix in most countries is generally marked by over-reliance on fossil fuels. However, while coal plays a significant role, for example, in Indonesia, in other ASEAN states, it is far less important. There are also significant variation between per capita energy consumption in the region. While Brunei and Singapore have very high per capita energy use, other countries' per capita use are far lower. For example, Cambodia and Malaysia and Thailand are in between. The existing disparities and diversity between the 10 ASEAN states above become challenges for a well energy connected ASEAN, which drive to integrate and resilient region. How does then the question ASEAN tackle these energy challenges? A well-connected and integrated energy in ASEAN is a key to achieving to resilient energy region. The 10 ASEAN member states have a long-standing goal of integrating their respective energy system. Their effort towards securing energy I can classify in three areas, which are regulation, and then energy cooperation and connectivity, institution building. The opportunity for regional sustainable energy development established in 1986 when ASEAN member states signed agreement on ASEAN energy cooperation. ASEAN has also plan of action for energy cooperation. This is a regional blueprint energy sector which provide guidance on concrete regional objectives and strategies in energy matters. ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation was first presented and supported in the ASEAN Energy Minister meeting in Thailand in 1999. RPEEC has now entered part 3 and is compiled for 10 years period of cooperation from 2016 and 2012, 25. The second area to secure its regional energy, ASEAN carry out some program to enhance energy cooperation and connectivity. In fact, ASEAN cooperation on energy matters has already started in the earlier days of the regional organization. In 1975, in the aftermath of international oil crisis, ASEAN established the ASEAN Council on Petroleum. The most comprehensive efforts towards regional energy integration within ASEAN region also include enhanced energy cooperation, namely ASEAN Power Grid, Trans-ASEAN Gas Pipeline, coal and clean coal technology, energy efficiency and conservation, renewable energy, regional energy policy and planning, and civilian nuclear energy. I will talk a bit about ASEAN Power Grid, that it is a program consisting of 16 interconnection projects. It is expected to expand from bilateral to sub-regional basis and ultimately aims to achieving a total integrated system. The APG, ASEAN Power Grid, is seen by ASEAN member states as tool to stimulate regional economic growth and development. Gas interconnection with the Trans-ASEAN Gas Pipeline will also enhance and ensure the accessibility and availability of energy in the region. It will lead to gas prices that are affordable and accessible to industry, business, household use throughout ASEAN. Next, talk about institutional building in ASEAN on energy. ASEAN urgency in securing its energy sustainable development in the region also reflect in an institutional formation. On 1st January 1999, ASEAN established ASEAN Center for Energy. It is an independent intergovernmental organization within ASEAN structure that represent the interests of 10 ASEAN member states in the energy sector. ASEE became the coordinator center for the implementation of ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy. The center coordinated and accelerated the integration of energy strategies for ASEAN. The focus of cooperation in ASEAN energy cooperation is on oil and gas sector and efforts to seek alternative energy through the development of new and renewable energy. Now I'm talking about institution energy cooperation mechanism, and that today is the ASEAN Minister of Energy meeting. This forum provides overall guidance and set policy directive for regional energy cooperation. And then the senior official meeting on energy determines policy priorities and provide advice on the ASEAN Plan for Action for Energy Cooperation and the yearly ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation. A number of subsector networks, SSNS, and Specialized Energy Body, SEBS, serve as implementing arms of Senior Official Meeting of Energy and are in charge preparing project proposal and other drafts. While ASEAN Center for Energy, in coordination with ASEAN Secretariats, assists SOMS and SNS and SEBS provide technical support and fulfill coordination and supervision tasks. The ASEAN Cooperation of Energy function as kind of intermediary between the senior official meeting and the specialist body. The ASEAN Security Cooperation is responsibility also for policy coordination and engagement with dialogue partners, and international organizations. Despite some progress have been made by ASEAN in its effort to integrate its energy in the region, its effort has been slow by remaining numerous challenges ranging from technical aspect, economic, and political aspect. The diversity of ASEAN member states is also an important factor that complicate energy cooperation. Not only they differ in terms of their economic strength, population size, geographical condition, and political system, but also, as I mentioned before, regarding their energy system. There are six significant variation, for example, in the primary energy use rates, the overall energy mix, and also the per capita energy use. So in terms of the energy use rate, for example, it is projected that fossil fuels will remain dominant in ASEAN energy mix at least until 2035. Nonetheless, among ASEAN member states, oil products producer Brunei is the only remaining exporting country, while as we already know that Indonesia, Malaysia, and Vietnam do already depend on imports. Within 10 ASEAN member countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand are three countries which accounted for around 37 region primary demand in 2045. And then if we look at this diversity, of course, that in turns leads to the diverging priorities and complexity in carrying out harmonization of regulation and technical standard for energy integration in ASEAN. It involves standardization in particular issues, areas such as power frequencies and taxes. Challenges in terms of economic aspect, as we know that natural gas and electricity network are capital intensive and generally subject to economic of scale. With large capital investment, energy networks present major challenges in financing and maintenance, especially when they have crossed many countries with different legal jurisdiction and regulatory environments. These capital attributes lead to many market and government failures, and private investment are reluctant to enter such conditions considered as high-risky areas. Furthermore, historically, energy sector remained dominated by state ownership. Given energy security as part of national policy, most countries believe in enhancing self-reliance rather than external dependence or dominance by foreign supplier. With its importance of energy in the economy, there are restrictions on foreign investment and ownership in a number of ASEAN economies. As energy sector remains under control of state, government is also a single authority who determines the market energy prices. Sometimes these prices are not market competitive, since the price offered by the government is lower than the energy production costs incurred by the private sector. This makes less attractive towards investors to invest in the energy sector. The investment in return is too low for them. And the last aspect is a socio-political aspect. Cross-border energy integration in ASEAN also complicated by socio and political consideration. Therefore, such projects are considered high risk. While ASEAN member states have generally expressed interest and pull to benefit from energy collectively, domestic consideration have ever since been major barrier. It is not surprising as energy security is a matter of national security, and government often respond to the aspiration and demands to their domestic constituencies first. For example, Indonesia and Malaysia have expressed concern over their ability to meet domestic gas demands while sustaining their LNGs and pipeline export commitment. Consequently, while Indonesia gas sector was previously mainly export-oriented, today it is increasingly concerned with domestic supply, especially for industrial sector. This also accounts for Indonesia coal sector, which has gained importance for domestic electricity production over the last years, leading to export limitation through the establishment of domestic market obligation. Thus, I can say that domestic national interests are usually beyond regional commitment in energy sector. Naturally, cooperation in the energy sector matters less to countries like Indonesia who have abundant resources, while still being in the process of enhancing domestic electrification rates, for example. The other is about non-interference and respect for national sovereignty, which are fundamental working principles of ASEAN, also perceived by some observers as the key reason why that infrastructure development remains low in ASEAN and progress is slow. The launch of energy renewable energy target in 2025, for example, it is indeed represented a major step to deepen ASEAN cooperation in energy and climate policies. Yet in energy, member states have remained particularly their sovereignty, limiting the pace and scope of integration. Unlike the European Union, which has a supranational body and has binding in its policy decision, ASEAN cannot impose its decision and interfere in the domestic affairs of its member countries. Now I will come to the last section of my talk on the possible future of integration, energy integration in ASEAN. First, that even though ASEAN has a common interest in ensuring energy sustainability in the region, integration of energy in ASEAN will always be complicated by a huge diversity of ASEAN member states. Not only they differ in terms of their economic strength, population size, geographical condition, and political, socio-political system, but also regarding their energy system as well. However, in order to secure regional energy supply in sustainable manner in the long run, ASEAN need to elaborate a common strategy on how to deal with competing connectivity agenda, decrease funding dependency on private companies, and the right share of renewable in the energy mix. As already discussed also by previous speaker, which I listened in the last session, that COVID-19 also brings more unprecedented challenge to all, including ASEAN efforts to enhance energy cooperation and connectivity. However, in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, ASEAN member states tend to put their priorities first for their domestic national interests and less priorities to regional energy cooperation. In the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, however, many reports also surface of the improved air quality and reduced carbon emission due to the reduced industrial activity and global travel. So I think the advocacy for greater adoption of sustainability practices has grown in voice. ASEAN can take this opportunity to increase awareness on the importance of its renewable mix target by 2025. And the last point which I would like to make is that with regard to its general lacking financial capacity, ASEAN member states could exercise by employing an alternative funding from external sources with renewable energy certificate or REC, like carbon trading, external funding sources by renewable energy certificate from ASEAN member states, which develop their respective energy power with renewable energy. So this certificate can be regarded as incentive to every member states to enhance their energy with renewable energy. So I think I have already spoken long enough. I will end it soon, and thank you so much for listening to me patiently. I'm waiting for the comments and questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ganewati, for a very great presentation. So actually, from your explanation, I can get 3 points. So I can conclude that the first one, the most significant energy condition in achieving energy resilience in Southeast Asia is energy disparity related with different level of economic growth in each country of the ASEAN member states. That's the most challenging thing. The second point is cooperation and connectivity is the way of ASEAN to achieve energy resilience at a regional level by formulating coordinated policies and also actions to answer the energy challenge. And also ASEAN has established a special bodies and a legal document regarding energy cooperation, which has been delivered by you before. And the third one is there are at least 3 important factors which affects the energy cooperation in ASEAN. Those are the technical factor, economic factor, and social political factor. So that's that I can conclude from your presentation. And we have several questions here, but before I read to you to answer the question, I would like to ignite the discussion atmosphere here. As you talk about the foreign policy of member states regarding energy issue, I would like to know to what extent the ASEAN member state has already synchronized or harmonized their foreign policy in order to achieve the energy security and energy resilience at the regional level. You information first.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Novi. Novi, can I call you Novi?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Novi. Yeah, as I already mentioned that ASEAN is quite unique that if we look at the social, political, it's quite diverse. And also if we are talking about foreign policy, it's also very diverse because foreign policy also determined with the political system by their own countries. However, ASEAN has been regarded as the very successful regional organization. And ASEAN has already become the benchmark for any regional organization in the world. That it is one of the success of how that countries can be cooperate in one single organization, and it is already lasting more than 50 decades because ASEAN is already found in 67. So I think that regardless that there are so diversity in ASEAN, in as I in diversity and then the different level of development, uh, different kind of the system of politics and also their foreign policy orientation. But ASEAN have very solid in terms of their vision about how that every countries who in the region would like to be developed in the future. They know that want to be developed that they they have they have to work together as not as a single country but together as 10 members. So I think this is the one of the key success of ASEAN. And I believe that it will be become pillars for ASEAN or ingredients for ASEAN on the running cooperation, any cooperation in the future. So they have a common ground, common interest that to be prosperity, it cannot be achieved by themselves, but it must be cooperate each other. So this is one of the vision of ASEAN that is already laid in the ASEAN community, one vision, and then interconnected, integrated, and then it will be a resilient region.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ganewati. And I would like to read several questions from the chat box. Maybe you can answer one by one because I will read also one by one to you. So here we have Mr. Muhammad Ihsan from Bank of Bengkulu. He is asking about the implementation of constitution regarding the natural resource. Is it in ASEAN whether our natural resources distributed wisely for the prosperity of our society, or it is just for the big companies? Please,
Okay.
Dr. Ganewati, to answer.
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about Indonesia, Indonesia is very large. Consists of more than 17 islands. For example, in East Nusa Tenggara itself, province, one province has more than 500 islands. Another thing is that natural resources in Indonesia is also not distributed evenly. That some have very, very rich. They are very rich in their natural resources. But some part of Indonesia, mostly in eastern part, are not. Because the weather in eastern part of Indonesia, they are mostly in dry season, more than wet seasons. And natural resources in eastern island is also less than in the middle island of Indonesia, like in in west part of Indonesia, for example. However, in terms of the development and how to use that natural resources, of course that it is very high cost for Indonesia because of the archipelagic condition. However, we can use most of that we have already given by the nature. That, for example, even though in Miangas, I have experience because I'm studying about border, so I have the opportunity go to the outermost of Indonesia, for example, in Miangas. I saw that in Miangas, it is very small island. It's very close to Philippines, and to get to the island, the last time there's no flight, and I have to take 70 hours from North Sulawesi, 70 hours by boat. But in the tiny island, they use the solar as energy. So I think even though that we don't have every part of the region have rich natural resources, but we can use most of what the local have already have. But somehow that some province have very rich in natural resources. For example, if we are talk about Papua with the Mamberamo River, it is very high potential to develop hydropower there. But the question, is it feasible to develop that hydropower in Mamberamo? Who are the markets? Who will develop? Because the geographic condition in Papua is very hard. So it must be very costly, yeah, to develop that. So when we talk about justice of natural resources, we have to talk justice to whom? And I think, of course, that we cannot rely to the private company to develop every energy demands, to provide energy demand for Indonesian society, because every private sector always talk about in return, the return of investment, and talk about the very diverse and very hard different condition, geographic condition in every parts of Indonesia. Somehow the government have to involve more than the private. Or the government can give incentive towards private sector who would like to invest in the remote island of Indonesia. So this is my response. Hopefully it will answer your questions.
Yes, so Mr. Iksan, if we talk about justice for who? That's a very important question to all of us in terms of developing energy resources. Thank you very much, Dr. Ganiawati, for the response. And I would like to deliver to you the question from Miss Annie Lestari. So, how can the ASEAN member state, ensure the synergy of clean and renewable energy development? Please,
Sorry?
Dr. Ganiawati. how can ASEAN member state synergize the clean and renewable energy development?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I think in the last presentation, I have already mentioned that the situation now is totally different with the COVID-19 pandemic. ASEAN, of course, has already put its target 33% for the renewable energy by 2025. And now it's already in the level of 40%. And we still have another 5 years to achieve that target. The question is it possible now with the pandemic situation right now? Because we don't know when the COVID will be ended up. It will be ended up until we found the virus. And I think the virus will not be effectively until 2 years. We still don't know. Uncertainty is very high. So I think it is very ideal in terms of idealistic. We can ask every member state of the ASEAN to still put their high commitment to achieve that target. However, I'm quite pessimistic about that because I think that most of ASEAN member states, including Indonesia, right now, they will put their priority first to their national domestic interest, including how to fight the COVID and how to keep economic growth in the level before the pre-COVID. Indonesia itself now is still negative in economic growth. So I think it is still work that very hard to be done to almost of every member state of ASEAN. So I'm too realistic to be realistic about this. So, however, my point is that even though I'm pessimistic about this, we can use this COVID as an entry point to campaign to increase the awareness of the people about the importance of renewable energy in the future. Because for us who live in Jakarta, for the long time that we have never seen the blue sky. But after the COVID, we can see the blue sky. So I think this experience can be used as an entry point for the awareness, to increasing the awareness how the importance of renewable energy for not in terms of economic growth, but also for the prosperity and the healthiness of our future generation. So by the growing awareness of the importance of the renewable energy, hopefully after the COVID has been terminated, we can push the cooperation on how to make renewable energy and then to synergize between member states of ASEAN to work on the target of by 2025. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ganewati. Hopefully, Dr. Ganewati answered your question, Miss Annie. So actually, from your explanation, Dr. Ganewati, I come to an important question regarding this ASEAN energy cooperation. Is it the blueprints or maybe the ASEAN Center for Energy, the special bodies that ASEAN has already created in terms of facing the challenge of energy issue? Do you think that all of the cooperation initiated by ASEAN has been effectively answered the challenge of energy security, especially in these terms of pandemic?
Yeah. ASEAN has already blueprint, right? I've already mentioned that ASEAN Action Plan for Energy Cooperation, and now it's already in the level of 3 for the blueprint on 2016 and 25. That some programs on that blueprints, including ASEAN transnational ASEAN Trans-ASEAN Pipelines Gas, that even though before pre-COVID, it is already encountered the problems, because with the Trans-ASEAN pipelines, it will be 16 projects which will connect inter the region in the ASEAN members. However, in Indonesia itself, that's supposed to develop the pipeline from Kalimantan to Java. It's already postponed because there is the problem of investment. So I think when we talk about the impact of the COVID, I think it will be more problematic because it is very hard now to get investor to do to invest, because they still wait and see about this pandemic and how it will be impact in the future on their business. Yeah, I think temporary everybody, every business will be wait and see until the situation is getting better, unless that there is a government project which give guarantee to the private sector. So I think the story will be different, because it means that the project is well guaranteed by government, and then I think the bank will also give credits more easier to the private sector, because there is a government guaranteed bank.
Yeah. Okay. So the last question from the audience, I'm taking from the question from Miss Nur Amalia as delegation of MAMAP 2020 from East Kalimantan. So she said that she believes that each ASEAN state has prepared its own strategy of energy resilience, but focus for this question on Indonesia rather than any country. So what is our country's advantage over other ASEAN states? So I think it's maybe the position of Indonesia, I think. How can our country advantage most the cooperation?
Yeah, I think Indonesia is the most country in ASEAN, which frankly speaking, actually not to depend on that cooperation because we have a lot of energy sources. We have the hydropower, we have the gas, we have the solar, we have coal. However, of course, that Indonesia also want that even though that Indonesia is a big country in the ASEAN, Indonesia also do not want to give the example to others that ASEAN left behind by Indonesia in terms of energy sectors. And we can see that Indonesia quite very active in terms of in every program and also in every events on energy sectors, energy cooperation and ASEAN. Even though, of course, that some domestic consideration sometimes hindrance to involve more actively. When you have the national interest higher, then your commitment it will be lower. I think, of course, that Indonesia have to be fulfilled first. For example, about how to the increasing demand of the energy power, because Indonesia also growing in their industry and the need for economic growth. But of course, that Indonesia have to put first their national interest, how to give fulfill the provision of energy in domestic first. I think that kind is also happen to other country that national interests must be put forward first.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ganewati, for the answer. Hopefully, Miss Amelia get the satisfied with the answer. So before I close this third session, I would like to ask Dr. Ganewati to give a closing statement from this session.
Yeah. First of all, thank you again for inviting me to this international seminar because this is the first time for me to work with Pertamina University, and hopefully it will not be last because my center also have many researchers who are also interested on this kind of the issue. So I'm looking forward for the future cooperation between Universitas Pertamina and also for LIPI. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much once again for Dr. Ganewati Furyandari for giving such interesting discussion and also insightful knowledge. It is great opportunity to have you here, and yes, we are also hoping to have a collaboration with you again in the near future. So as for now, I think we need a little break before we begin our last session with Dr. Han Paumin. So I would like to give the screen to Fendi and Keista for giving us further instruction. Please, can Fendi and Keista?
Thanks to all speakers and moderator. To all webinar participants, we will give a 10 minutes water breaks, and all participants are encouraged not to leave the Zoom meeting rooms. And we are going back at uh, 2, 2, to 10 p.m.
Indonesia is one of the highest energy consumers in the world. Fossil fuel is a major energy source that is used in Indonesia. Fossil fuels are a non-renewable energy source because they are limited and depleting at a faster rate. Indonesia needs renewable energy developments that move us away from our dependence on fossil fuels and towards a clean energy future. PT Pertamina Persero has created Universitas Pertamina to contribute to our society in the field of clean energy.
Alhamdulillah, Universitas Pertamina sekarang sudah jalan sejak didirikan 1 Februari 2016 dan kita rekrut mahasiswa kita mulai tahun Agustus tahun 2016. Universitas Pertamina sudah banyak melakukan kegiatan-kegiatan dengan hasil yang sangat baik di achievement yang dilakukan oleh mahasiswa maupun oleh institusi itu sendiri.
Universitas Pertamina was established with the vision of becoming a world-class university in the field of energy. The students of Universitas Pertamina are those of high potential from 34 provinces of Indonesia. They are ready to learn for a better future. The lecturers of Universitas Pertamina are experts who are competent and credible. They are some of the best graduates of Indonesia and abroad. We are also supported by high-quality human resources, including librarians, educational staff, and technicians. To support teaching and learning activities, we provide our campus with the best facilities, such as a library, an e-library, physics and chemical laboratories, and communication laboratories. In addition to teaching and learning activities, we provide extracurricular activities that fit students' interests and talents, such as football, taekwondo, boxing, photography, art, and research. We believe one of the best learning methods is through observational learning. Universitas Pertamina has field visit programs for students to observe companies in related fields. As part of the international community, Universitas Pertamina provides international student exchange programs with an opportunity to broaden students' knowledge on their studies from different countries.
Menarik karena banyak persepsi yang bisa saya dapatkan yang mungkin belum pernah saya dapatkan selama saya berada di Indonesia. Selain itu kita juga bisa belajar banyak hal di Jepang, mulai dari budaya antri, sistem transportasi, hingga riset-riset yang sedang dilakukan.
Hal yang paling berkesan dari pengalaman saya selama student exchange di Prancis which is adalah cara belajar secara akademis yang lebih kepada student center, banyak melakukan group project dan group activity.
Menjalani pertukaran pelajar otomatis merupakan suatu kebanggaan. Namun yang terpenting adalah bagaimana pengalaman tersebut telah melatih cara saya berpikir, khususnya dalam melihat sesuatu dengan perspektif yang lebih luas.
Universitas Pertamina conducts partnership programs with several industries in order to realize the vision of becoming a world-class university. As an entrepreneurial university, Universitas Pertamina conducts partnership programs with the professional associations and government institutions to hold collaborative work. Universitas Pertamina also conducts partnerships and collaborative programs with national and international leading universities.
The students of Universitas Pertamina, thank you so much for your guidance, thank you so much for your advice, for your motivation, semangat, Sans. Well, I appreciate that so much and I will miss you guys.
I have a great time doing exchange students here because with the friends, the lecturers, and also the new environment for me is really welcoming. So yeah, I learned really a lot here.
As a university focusing in the energy industry, Universitas Pertamina has developed and coordinated collaborative work with Universitas Teknologi Petronas, Malaysia, to support research and development activities, undertaken primarily to acquire new knowledge directed to the energy industry. We have been working on our vision to build the excellence of graduates who have an international standard of quality, who are ready for global competition with good knowledge, skill, and integrity. They will be the leaders who transform Indonesia into an advanced nation through energy development.
Selamat kepada Universitas Pertamina, kepada kita semua, kita hantarkan sebagai universitas terbaik di Indonesia dan kawasan dunia ini.
Universitas Pertamina akan semakin besar ke depan dalam menyediakan sumber daya manusia yang kompeten dalam turut jamin ketahanan, kemandirian dan kedaulatan energi nasional. Selamat kepada Universitas Pertamina.
Kita punya banyak kolaborasi baik dengan korporat maupun dengan perguruan tinggi, dengan industri maupun dengan perguruan tinggi. Untuk industri saya kira kita punya kerjasama dengan PT Pertamina dan seluruh anak perusahaannya, dan juga dengan beberapa industri-industri migas lain. Dan saya yakin kita akan mampu menjadi world class university di bidang energi pada tahun 2035, dan mudah-mudahan pada tahun itu kita sudah top 500 university in the world.
Universitas Pertamina, the global.
again, thanks to all participants who are still participating in the series of the events. Now, we have entered session 4 of International Webinar Model ASEAN Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020, which will deliver by Mr. Han Paumin. To start this discussion, session 4 will be guided by our moderator, Ms. Novita Rudiani.
Thank you, Fendi and Keista. We're back again for the fourth session. Well, I hope you won't get bored to see me again, but we have different speakers for the first session. We have here Dr. Han Paumin. So thank you very much, Dr. Han Paumin, to coming to the event. And I would like to introduce Dr. Han Paumin. So Dr. Han Paumin is a senior energy economist in Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, or we know it as RIEA. Han Paumin has more than 20 years of professional experience working at various international and intergovernmental organizations and multidisciplinary research consortium related to energy markets and technologies, environment, integrated water resource management, governance, and economic development in the region of ASEAN and East Asia. As his experience, much of his career in the past 12 years revolved around power sector, especially with sustainable hydropower development, renewable energy research, in example, biopower generation, competitiveness studies, solar and wind, energy efficiency and conservation, clean coal technology, energy security, and energy demand and supply forecasting. He has been serving as an expert for APEC on energy security for oil and gas emergency responses since 2013 until now. As you can see on the screen, these are the expertise of Dr. Han Paumin. So he has lots of experience. So I believe that we will also gain valuable knowledge from him. And Dr. Han Paumin will present to us about regional energy resiliency in ASEAN. I would like to remind Dr. Han Paumin to deliver your presentation for 25 minutes, and the committee will help you to inform the remaining time. For the audience, don't forget to give your question through the chat box, because in the discussion session, I will take several questions to be answered by the speaker. Dr. Han Paumin, the screen is yours.
Very good afternoon. Do you hear me, Novita-san?
Yes,
okay.
I hear you very clearly.
Thank you so much. Again, very good afternoon to all the participants from, I think, from all over the world, particularly in ASEAN, I hope. And I also, before starting off my presentation, I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to Professor Dermawan Wibisono, the Dean of the Faculty of Communication and Diplomacy, the University of Pertamina. And also I would like to express thanks to the committee of this international conference, and especially also to Novita-san for facilitate this final session. As the topic has suggested, I think throughout this morning, I believe that the audience, I think, perhaps gain a very strong knowledge in terms of the energy resiliency, particularly in our regions. I think before I kick off this topic of the last session, I think the word resiliency, I think it reminds us that the word resiliency only when we are facing trouble, and how we able to come back as quick as possible. In terms of energy, I think there will be two, how the planner look into resiliency in terms of short term, because energy could be subject to any disruption. from many point of view from supply side. And then for the long-term sustainability, you need to understand the structure of each individual country in ASEAN to see how the energy structure, particularly energy landscape, able to provide the most clean in the future in terms of energy transition toward more cleaner ASEAN. So that I think today's topic will focus on this actually highlight issue. Give me a second to share my presentation. Wait a minute. Novita-san, could you kindly confirm, do you hear, do you see my PowerPoint slides?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I think as normal, this is the outline of my presentation. There will be a general introduction and then about briefly on energy landscape in ASEAN. You will see this is a new data that because I am the editor of the energy outlook for ASEAN and East Asia for the 17 countries. I just take for the update, the more update ASEAN data to show you. So I think this not yet been published. I think this is quite new data for ASEAN perspective. And as I said, the energy resiliency will be related strongly to energy security. Then we need to understand this kind of perspective. And actually, what will be the framework, the mechanism during the supply disruption, and how long-term of energy security likely to be in ASEAN in terms of energy mix, in terms of infrastructures. That all this will imply our energy cooperation in ASEAN. And ASEAN not alone, I think we can look up to many models in the world, particularly OECD, that very advanced in terms of energy cooperation and also in terms of energy resiliency. I will start with to say I applaud the ASEAN as a group have gained, I think, a fast economic growth in the past 2 decades. I think this brought by the fast connectivity, innovation, and production linkage, which allow these, I think, the ASEAN product able to connect to international market. I think this we actually see very fast growing in ASEAN, not only in terms of the population, in terms of I think human resource capacity has been upgraded. At the same time, infrastructure and innovation has integrated this region in terms of, let's say, I heard all this morning that many countries in ASEAN, like Ireland, Indonesia, Philippines, are disconnected because they are not connected by land. But because of the fast connectivity, I think it compressed time and space in terms of I think we can have a much nicely air aviation connectivity, or by ship or by vessel. So there are no, I think, limitation in terms of how we can be connected. I think we are well connected, and we're going to be very much connected in the near future. With I think as guided by individual as well as the spirit of ASEAN, a single market and connectivity. However, if you look at the energy system in ASEAN, I think ASEAN as a group still use a lot of fossil fuel. First, we look at the supply side. Supply side, ASEAN supply side going to increase from current level by 3 times until 2050. That is our area prediction, that data will be released. And within that, the current data show that fossil fuel, it's mean combined coal, oil, gas, consists of 80% of the supply mix. And this dominant of fossil fuel will increase further in 2055 to 87%. So there are no back off at all in terms of reliance on fossil fuel. And we know fossil fuel going to be playing very important role in ASEAN to drive economic growth. So you cannot go away from fossil fuel. We have to work around fossil fuel, how to use fossil fuel more cleanly. And we will say, look into technology perspective, what need to be done and what need to be deployed in ASEAN context, particularly like Indonesia that rely mostly on coal in terms of power generation, and also a large exporter in the region. Also, Indonesian provide. Because of this, I think it's not bad at all, because of Indonesian increase the energy security in the region, particularly that you don't need to rely much on external export like gas or petroleum, particularly for crude oil, that need much import from the Middle East. However, I think the rising energy demand, it's not a good news, because you need to increase the supply security in terms of what will be necessary to be in place in terms of power infrastructures, where actually the energy source will come from in order to meet this rising energy demand in the ASEAN. Further, I think this oil price fluctuation will automatically affect the affordability in the region, because most of the country also oil export as well as the oil import countries. So any change of the oil price, it affects the consumption and affordability, and of course the energy security in ASEAN region. So energy resiliency, as I said, will link directly to energy security system in each of the countries of ASEAN. So it's important to understand the infrastructures, the system, the mechanism, and the energy system of each individual countries. If ASEAN going to get all electricity covered by 100% by 2030, then I think there will be more electricity demand and you need more secure supply by that time. So increase of supply security will be needed in ASEAN by from now until the futures. In terms of energy landscape, if you look at the supply side, you see that the total primary energy supply, that's with all types of energy, coal, oil, gas, and other, will grow by, accumulate by around threefold. It means almost 300% from data 2017 to 2050s. In the business as usual, when the country do not have policy change toward more energy efficiency, more renewable. But if the country is able to embrace more renewable and as well as the energy efficiency, then the country able to reduce the energy demand and as well as the energy growth by I think a large amount. In this case, we expect that the energy grow just around double from 2017 to 2050s. As you know already, that energy efficiency will play a key important role in energy security, because if you're able to save energy through energy efficiency, we call this always as a hidden fuel, you can save a lot of energy. This turn out to be resources. In terms of the power generation, if you employ more efficient power generation, you're able to save generation cost. You don't need to build more power generation to meet the growing energy demand. We can play around energy efficiency and we save a lot of foreign exchange in this case. In terms of the final energy demand, you see that the transportation, this is the data for ASEAN as a group. Transport is the largest and dominant energy sources in the ASEAN, and followed by the industry and followed by the commercial and residential sectors. So in terms of energy saving, we expect to save a lot of energy in transportation sector. This is because of the alternative policy that the many countries in ASEAN will look up to more cleaner fuel and fuel economy in transportation, and possibly switching to some of the electric vehicle that replace some of the current fleet with the hybrid transportation fuel. So in this case, we expect a large saving around 22% in transportation, followed by industry around 15% and commercial residential sector around 14%. And for renewable, we expect to see the increase quite a lot as well. And the in this non-residential sector, that is commercial sector and residential sectors. For power generation, it's very surprising throughout, I think, in the past, decade, that coal is the dominant power generation source in ASEAN. Except this year, when we do a new outlook, we found that many that gas actually already leading. This is a good news that gas consumption likely to be dominant in power generation in ASEAN. But Indonesian power generation mix is dominated by coal, almost 60% at current level. But putting ASEAN as a group, natural gas is a largest dominant energy source in power generation, followed by coal. But in terms of energy saving, coal is expected to achieve the largest saving because we have range of technologies to replace the old fleet. When the old fleet get retired, the new one need to come up with a cleaner and high efficient thermal power generation. In that case, I think we expect at least ultra supercritical technology we call clean coal technology. In some cases, it could go up to advanced USC level, hopefully. And geothermal is expected to increase around 17% by 2050. Because of the energy saving, you expect also emission reduction from the business as usual. So the reduction of emission expect around 30% if we're able to achieve a very high share of renewable, as well as the energy efficiency in this power generation, transmission, as well as in the final, it's mean end use sector, including the transportation industry, commercial and residential sectors. In terms of energy security, mostly we view the energy security perspective from the supply side. In terms of the import sources, in terms of the system, current system, how much the vulnerability of the energy system of each individual country, as well as ASEAN as a group. When we look at ASEAN, I think we need to look a wide range of current system, whether ASEAN have a well connectivity in terms of power infrastructure. The current cooperation we have ASEAN power grid, gas pipeline and other, but how it's going to be implemented, I think I can touch upon on those in terms of electricity and gas security. But in terms of supply security perspective, ASEAN still vulnerable because they likely depend on the fossil fuel. And many countries also import this fossil fuel. And the source of fossil fuel import are quite far away. Though some of the countries currently sold the net energy export in terms of primary energy supply. But in the future, by 2050, even 2025 onwards, many countries starting to import this fossil fuel. At the current level, you see that Myanmar have a net energy export, but in the near future, because Myanmar do not really achieve large energy consumption per capita, when the connectivity and coverage in terms of energy access cover all the country, the demand going to increase, one economic activity going to increase, energy demand going to increase. Then they going to expect to import more natural gas to meet the consumption in various sectors, as well as the oil products. At current level, in the Indonesian still the net energy export, Malaysian still net energy export, Brunei net energy export. Only Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore, and Philippines, I think this have a negative energy export. It means they import largely. Because of oil price will be affect directly on the affordability. Normally during the low price of oil, I think the import country actually enjoying, but that low crude oil price is not sustainable. Basically, we need to have a very stable in terms of energy security. But country in ASEAN should take advantage during the low crude oil price. If they have system in place to build stock, or call to increase inventory stock and government stock, and how this going to support energy security in ASEAN. But normally the demand and supply will define the price of the crude oil price. But in terms of crude oil price, it doesn't define in that way. You see the price up and down are not related directly with demand supply. Of course, demand supply play a role in determining the price of crude oil, but politics, geopolitics, and terrorists and disruption are play larger part, particularly speculation. So in that case, you need to have a mechanism to ensure that during the disruption, you have actually a physical ability to release oil stock, particularly to prevent the damage to the economy. That at one point, if there are no system in place, the price signal will go very high during disruption, and that will hurt the economy if you do not have physical ability to distribute during crisis of the oil supply disruption. As I said, by IEA predict that by 2025, ASEAN as a group expect to be a net import of crude oil share to the demand. So that net import likely to be 75%. So in this case, I think there are no time for us to feel complacency. We need to build our own energy security and regional energy security, because we know that the region going to rely on strong cooperation to ensure that we able to work around during the disruption of supply of oil and gas. As you see that the supply security in this world, the most busy route only the Hormuz Strait, which is in the Middle East, and the Malacca Strait, which is in Singapore. And these two routes, they estimate around 17 million barrels of crude oil per day bound out of the Middle East. And 80% of those are bound for Asia. And these routes are actually subject to disruption in terms of terrorist attacks and piracy and others. And for Malacca Strait, I think the crude oil trade around this strait is around 50 million barrels per day, and congestion and traffic is very high. That could subject to much accident. Why the data of the piracy and accident throughout this traffic route has been reduced somewhere, but in terms of Southeast Asia and South Asia, the number of vessel attack have seen increase in the past 5 years. So I think this we need to increase more in terms of maritime security when we transport all of this crude oil and natural gas. In terms of during this disruption, I think we learned a lot from the IEA mechanism. During oil and gas disruption, IEA, particularly for OECD countries, they have a mechanism in place they call Coordinate Emergency Response Measure. It's called CERM. This will assess a country in distress when they experience the distress of the normal market condition of disruption of 10% of supply. I think the country are able to receive the supply from other member states. And in our ASEAN, we also formulate a very similar mechanism we call ASEAN Petroleum Security Agreement, we call APSA. We formulate very similar, but the mechanism has not been operationalized. And in that case, we need to look deeper how we're not able to operationalize the APSA mechanism. We need to look at the IEA model, how it works. And I can share you briefly how it doesn't work at the current level of the ASEAN context. For APSA mechanism, I think it beautifully described, and along with what IEA member state also doing. But the important, I think we need to really have the real institution to manage this. You need to have a staff to collect real-time data. Otherwise, you cannot access this member state that experience the shortfall of the supply of their own petroleum during disruption. And you need a mechanism in place in terms of legislation body to coordinate all of this, and how the decision in the ASEAN likely to be in order to empower the APSA to function in the future. I hope that the APSA will function in the future when the ASEAN member state see the importance of the supply disruption, because some of the ASEAN members, they still rely on the market availability, we call the spot market. But during the crisis, the price of the spot also go high. In that case, I think it's not reliable. The country need to rely on our own mechanism to cope with the supply disruption. And we need to protect ASEAN as a group. In general, I think during the supply disruption, you have two mechanisms to cope with this. From the supply side, you normally you can do the stock draw, or ask the, let's say, Indonesian, Malaysian, and other that have oil field to increase the spare capacity, to increase that production of spare capacity. But the best way is to work around the demand side. It's we call demand restraint. That you're asking all these demand sector, particularly for transportation and industry, to work around for fuel saving, eco driving, and other. I think the measure can go by the level of the oil and gas disruption. At one point, we'll go for fuel switching in terms of power generation, but this fuel switching is not really much practical anymore, because most of the power generation, I think, use natural gas. But in that case, I think the gas become more important in terms of power generation, not really crude oil anymore. I think that now IEA also look into this kind of the security, not the traditional one that they look into the crude oil supply, but they look into in terms of electricity as well as natural gas. It's important, I think, to have institutions to work around to make sure this disruption have the body to coordinate this response. Luckily that Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, I think member of APEC, where I am always be a committee and expert to judge the exercise of APEC in terms of energy security. So I think Indonesian, Malaysian, Singapore, and Vietnam are much advanced in terms of their preparedness, because they're able to simulate their response in terms of disruption. But like the country of Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos are still far away, because there are no system in place to work around this. And mostly if there's a disruption of oil supply or natural gas, I think they will trigger the system. Mostly these countries have the natural disasters preparedness and response. So they use this system to respond. But I think in the long term, they need to have the system which is we call NESO. Mostly we call NESO to respond particularly for oil and gas disruption. This will be very effective mechanism because you bring in the oil industry as advisory expert on the advisory board and to advise to the body how to respond during the disruption, whether we going to release the stock or what level we should respond. I think in conclusion, ASEAN will need to look into sustainable energy supply. And then we need to understand that our region will continue to rely on fossil fuel consumption. And in that case, I think ASEAN need to work more to integrate the renewable energies. Particularly, I think all renewable that so far we never think that the intermittent renewable like solar and wind could come as much as possible to the grid. But with the current technology like battery storage as well as the renewable green hydrogen through electrolyzers, I think this could be the game changers that allow renewable to come as much as possible. Because I heard the presenters have said that some of the islands in Indonesia, like Kalimantan or Papua, there's a lot of hydropower potential. But because of the, if you're going to develop hydropower there are no demand. You cannot export no electricity. I think one of the technology solution, hopefully in the near future, that hydrogen will be the solution for this, because you convert electricity, use water through electrolyzers and convert to hydrogen. Hydrogen can be transported and can be used by many sectors in terms of transportation, or you can put back to power generation. So in this case, I think a future that ASEAN can increase a lot of renewable, particularly in this energy system. So I hope this energy transition need to be carefully understood with this energy affordability, because the technology, the cost perspective and other will come into play, because this will involve with consumer willingness to pay. Because if technology become more commercialized and affordable, I think ASEAN are willing to tap in those technologies. The same like we are relying on the fossil fuel use, we will need to have a clean technology like high efficient and low emission technology we call HALE, or clean coal technology, to use this coal more friendly. I think the future ASEAN clean energy depend on our policy, and we need to work on the policy right now. And that policy will imply investment. How much investment, and then how policy will need to work around to make sure that investors are comfortable to invest in those technology. Otherwise, they will not jump in when you rely on this kind of clean technology. There are a lot of barriers in terms of financial barrier that the bank do not understand how it works, and the investor do not confident enough because the financial flow and the risks are high. So I think there need to work around this regulatory framework and policy to support, to ensure that clean technology can actually gradually enter into the energy system of ASEAN. There are a lot of energy policy implications out of my presentation, but I will not speak more on that particular case. You can have my PowerPoint anyway. I just want to conclude my presentation at this point, and I thank you so much for all the audience that spent time to listen to my presentation, and I welcome your question in the later session, and also the floor and microphone back to Novita-san. Thank you so much, by the way.
Thank you very much, Dr. Paumin, for a very insightful presentation. So it is indeed a different point of view yeah, as you talk about risk regarding energy issue and how the member states try to respond the challenge. So actually, from your explanation, I can conclude into 3 points. The first one, that ASEAN energy landscape shows that each of us still provide our society with fossil fuels, especially for the transportation sector and for power generation. So we need to look at cleaner energy sources. And the second one is at regional and national level, the energy security mainly focus on the supply side, fuels dependency, and import sources and diversification, and also strategic oil reserve. And my third point is very interesting because I see a different point of view from you. My third point is, even though some of ASEAN members can produce their own energy source, they still have a high reliance to energy imports, which makes them put the supply point as their national interest. However, there is a possible problem from terrorism and piracy, which can affect the ASEAN cooperation in achieving energy resilience. So actually, this is very interesting points from Dr. Fomin. Thank you very much. And before I come to the audience, I try to ignite the discussion. So actually, Dr. Fomin, I did some research regarding the energy challenge. So I can classify that there are at least 3 problems regarding energy security. The first one is interstate conflict. So as you know that lots of countries bilaterally go into war, war for oil, and they hurt each other, and again the society become the victim just for getting energy resource. The second one is the terrorism. So it is not only we are talking about the state actor, but also the non-state actor, which you have already mentioned before, that it is piracy and terrorism, which we cannot predict when will they appears in front of us regarding energy access. And the third one is not about the actor, but the energy risk is coming from the nature. It's I'm talking about the disaster risk. So it's coming from the environment, it's coming from the nature. So according to your opinion, which of the 3 challenge that the most challenging for ASEAN to face?
Thank you so much, Novisan. By the way, I missed the third point because my computer sometimes it moved. Could you kindly repeat the third point you raised? Sorry.
Yeah, the third one is actually the disaster risk. So such as we know that earthquake caused nuclear waste in Fukushima. And also we also have the problem of Deepwater Horizon in oil spill, and it caused a disaster for some countries. So the third challenge for us is disaster.
Yes, thank you so much, Novita San. I think this is very important as you highlight. I think not as you see that country around the world try to secure the energy supply, especially when country in a large economic role like China. You will see that United States in the past, European and others try to put their resource outside of the countries to explore, to ensure that the supply of this energy back to their own countries. I think this traditional perspective is still continues to some point of view. That could be we call the man-made or natural disaster or whatever. But this kind of resource, I think kind of resource conflict or whatever. Still, you can see that in the Middle East, in Africa, and others, and that it's important because countries need to secure their supply with the affordability. But I think each country need to understand that nowadays, I believe that the perspective has been shifted, unlike in the past, because the alternative energy security is with a larger option that never happened in the past because of technology that could convert this kind of available resource, become more energy security domestically. And you see that you don't need to actually to rely much on the, let's say, fossil fuel. If you're able to tap all the resources, let's say renewable and others, but that will involve with investment. And that investment, let's say solar alone, wind alone, I think this can power a large amount in the region, whether China, Mongolia and others. So it depends on how you tap this resource and how the energy cooperation and connectivity. That still, I think, play into the interstate politics and conflict. And of course, the terrorism, I think we will not go away. Terrorism will not go away because there are a lot of conflicts that we see that state by state and other non-state and terrorists and others. So the supply of this crude oil, natural gas and crude oil, mostly I think come from the Middle East that is bound to our region. Those currently Indonesian, I think, have a net energy export, but in the future they're going to import. But Indonesians still import, like for some part because of the, I think you can import some and you export some. And many countries actually 100% net import in terms of crude oil as well as the petroleum products. Of course, I think disaster, earthquake, this caused the disruption of supply. You will see in Japan, and I think Indonesia particularly. Also, this can disrupt the supply because supply of the petroleum product can be through transportation by road, track, or by ship. So mostly the by road and track, if there's earthquake or the natural disaster in terms of storm and other, they cut the supply. So if they cut supply, let's say Jakarta, you will rely on the stock, inventory stock that hold at company level. How many days that these stock in Jakarta? So all of these will come into each of the state assess their own resilient infrastructures. First, when we talk about resiliency, we talk about our ability to cope with disruption during the supply disruption. That ability in terms of physical stock of oil and gas, and our ability to distribute in time. So even we have stock, but we're not able to distribute, that will not make any usefulness. So I think all of this will come into perspective in terms of how country can protect and make it more resilient to this kind of shock. I hope this, to say which one is more important, quite difficult to respond. I think they are all equally important to my perspective because as a planners, as a decision maker, we need to put all this into play in order to design the policy to be more resilient. Of course, to be more resilient and more sustainable, we need to move toward more clean energies as well as renewable. That for long term. But for short term supply, we need to work during disruption. We need to have ability to stock oil and natural gas and ability to distribute during time in distress. I hope this question can respond some of your question. Novita-san, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so from your opinion, each of sector have different approach to solve. So it is also need to put all them together as the priority of the national or regional authority. All right, so I will go to the question from the audience. First one I have here. I don't know how to address. Is this Mr. Ungku Najihah Izani bin Ungku Izan from Malaysia? So Ungku Najihah asks that, as we know, that there are countries supplies the net energy. For the sustainable development, how do they sustain this energy? They affecting the future generation as they are supplied to other, or they can be sustained in other way? Please, Dr. Fomin, to answer.
Thank you so much for the question from Malaysian, and really appreciate this. I think the energy sustainability, it rely on our today action and policies. If we do not do anything, I think the word sustainability is the harmonization of the atmosphere, the environment, the human, and this environment that we're living in that can support our growing futures. So when we are using more fossil fuel, that fossil fuel emit greenhouse gas emission, particularly, I think the more immediate impact is not from this rising of global, not from the CO2 emission itself, but from the NOx and SOx, that and ppm, that will make the environment, let's say you experience like Beijing, Jakarta, that you feel smog because of this particular matter released from the vehicle, released from power plant that use fossil fuel. So that will affect the well-being, particularly linked to the respiratory and sickness. So I think for sustainability, it needs to support the well-being of the people that live in the cities, as well as the future generation that it linked to rising climate temperature, that is the greenhouse gas emission, particularly oil emission. So with that, we need to shift away from fossil fuel, if possible. But if not possible, as our prediction, we need to use this fossil fuel in a cleaner way. In that case, in a cleaner way, we have technology perspective. Like the fossil fuel, let's say power generation, we use the clean coal technologies. On top of that, we will employ the CCUS, carbon capture, utilization and usage in the future. And if the CCUS able to be employed in the future, I think that would be a much big solution for reducing emission in ASEAN as well as around the world. So we believe that technology will play very much important role in future generation. But why waiting for technology? I think our policy and action have at the same time have to move away and integrate more renewables such as wind, solar, geothermal, and possibly the hydro and other clean energy into our energy mix. I hope this will answer some of the question of the question from the Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. or Miss Ungku Najihah. Hopefully, Dr. Fomin answered your question. So I will move to the second question from Mr. Gito Abimanyu. To Mr. Han Pomin, is there a possibility that the creation of UNFCCC can contribute to change the chance in climate change and fossil energy use? How about the idea that with great funding in technology comes a great amount of economic burden for certain countries? Because Mr. Anggito thinks that not all countries have the same opportunity in energy sourcing like us. There will be some countries that will still use coal and gas as main consumption, and how to tackle that for the developing countries. Please,
thank you so much for the question. Just repeat, you asking the role of CCUS or what?
UNFCCC is there any possibility that the creation of UNFCCC can contribute to change the chance in the climate change and fossil energy use?
Thank you so much for the question. I think this is very important. United Nations framework on this conference on the climate change. This is the most important commitment that the leader come together. I think the most Paris Agreement in 2015, I think the most landmark that we able to convene the leaders to acknowledge the rising of climate change and the impact on this well-being and also the impact on the environment. So I think without this kind of scientific proving that the climate change affecting, so I think human behavior will not change because the traditional way of using fossil fuel is very convenient. And we do not want to shift away when we are working on something that we are familiar with. And we do not want to seek alternative that is we are not familiar with and with subject to many risks. So in that case, I think the UNFCCC is really a framework to guide the commitment. When the leader committed, it translates to be policy and action. This policy and action will be a policy change to drive investment in the ground. So that, to me, this very important UNFCCC is a guiding framework for countries. That's why you see that countries like Indonesia and other countries are committed to UNFCCC climate change. About the NDC, National Determined Contribution, in terms of how much country able to reduce emission by the time frame, let's say 2030 and 2050, and before the turn of this century, 2100. That will be important. That without such kind of commitment, I think the rising of the temperature rise to 2 degrees will likely to be exceed, and that will impact a lot on scientifically proved that that's going to impact a lot in terms of the unpredictability in terms of the climate change that could affect, I think, like flash flood, drought and heavy rain and other as you see today. So, but if we able to work around to limit it to below 2 degrees Celsius, I think we able to kind of, I think, put the contact in more controllable. Otherwise, we expect that a lot of disaster going to strike our human being. That will not lead to sustainability. So shortly to speak, that UNFCCC is the important framework, but the more important. I hope I answer this question to back.
Okay, so it is actually back again to our commitment to comply to the UNFCCC commitments of each country. Okay, so the third question is from Greg Sigmund Quilaneta. Coal and fossil fuels as energy industry is huge and is the primary source energy in the most country, has gained a notorious reputation as an unclean. Despite efforts of green groups to stop or at least lower or deduct the use of fossil fuels, constant lobbying of fossil fuels companies hinder the legislation of a clean new energy. Now, do you think just because company can't contribute much to the economy, legislator might be having hard time converting to clean energy? So it's actually
thank you so much. Yeah, I think this. Thank you. I think this is very tough and practical question, and it poses very serious for legislator as well as the power regulator. As I said earlier, if you look at in the power system, I think the regulator do not want to change mind because they are comfortable with traditional fuel. And when you shift away from the traditional fuel, because we always say that coal is the power base, power generation from coal, gas, base, some renewable like geothermal, hydro can play a base load, but they are subject to, let's say, hydro or seasonal fluctuation. So they are comfortable with coal, which is play a very important base load as well as natural gas. So they don't want to shift away, because when you introduce wind and solar with the current grid infrastructure, that without much IT support, technology support, you cannot integrate electricity from wind and solar more than 10%. If within 5 to 10%, I think the current regulators, power regulators, are happy to embrace. But the current share of the wind and solar, to my understanding, in ASEAN, just around 2.4%. So you still have room to increase, but still they don't want it. Because why? We need to understand the complexity of power system in ASEAN. Mostly they are the hybrid single buyers. Hybrid is in the sense that they can privatize some of the power generation, where, let's say, PLNs will be a single buyers. But there are no wider competition like in Europe, where you allow the IPP to come in and compete in terms of technology. You're able to bring down the least cost. But our market system, not only in ASEAN, we are rely on hybrid single buyers. So in that case, unless you change, you unbundle, change some of all of this before we are saying that what technology will come in, because this system will allow more fair competition of new technology to come in. And to say that, I think we need to open our mindset. And to open mindset, I think it's not easy, because we are comfortable, as I said. We are comfortable with the fossil fuel because it plays very stable load. When you introduce wind and solar, you need more technology to come in. You need to upgrade grid technologies. You need to get well predicted in terms of how much amount of electricity and what will be the backup. If you use gas to back up, will cost hugely. If you use battery storage to back up, it costs hugely. If you use electrolyzer of renewable hydrogen, it costs largely. After all, it will come at the willingness to pay. At the same time, politics will come into play. That if you increase electricity price, there will be a problem. So after all, I think that gradually need to reform in electricity sectors to allow the new technology to come in, replace the old one. But we cannot do quickly. Otherwise, I think it change suddenly, it will affect the affordability and other things. I hope my answer could respond some of the question. Maybe not completely, but at least share my insight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. for the answer, Greg. We hope Dr. Pomin have already answered your question. So to wrap up the question, I would like to give you one last question regarding our seminar today. Do you think ASEAN needs to build relations or engage with their multilateral cooperation in terms of achieving energy resilience?
Novi-san, my computer sometimes it moved. Could you repeat your question, please? Sorry.
So my question is, do you think ASEAN need to build relations with other multilateral cooperation in ensuring or achieving the energy resilience, such as maybe with the OPEC, IEA, G20, or else?
Yes. Thank you so much for, I think, this question, and it's important. So to achieve the energy resiliency, energy cooperation will play important role. Not any single country will go self-sufficient. When we talk about self-sufficient, I think that a very traditional way of thinking, because when we have ASEAN already in place, we should use ASEAN mechanism as a platform to achieve our energy resiliency. To do that, I think trust is the important. Whether you do energy trade, electricity trade, any other energy trade. You need trust. And because of this, and we have ASEAN in place, we should use this platform and comfortably and increase our energy cooperation. And actually, ASEAN already have in place the energy cooperation in terms of APSA, ASEAN Petroleum Energy Security Agreement, and as well as these power grid connectivities for power trade. So I think this very nice in terms of energy cooperation. We need to make sure this will work faster, will be connect faster, because when we connect ASEAN grid, we're able to save a lot of generation. And I hope that ASEAN will move toward a single energy market in the future and be able to enjoy and save a lot of generation and be able to tap many of the renewable energy sources and use for the region. So I'm very optimistic in terms of energy cooperation. Besides that, I think ASEAN have a mechanism for cooperation, as you said, with APEC, with the IEA, as well as around the world, not only IEA, I think in Africa and other, we can look up to the best practice and what suits best for our region. Because when we import 100% from IEA, like APSA, it doesn't work because it's not genuinely homegrown. So we need to have something that is homegrown, our gene, to ensure that it's workable. Because when we import, it doesn't work well with us. I think we need to reflect ourselves also in terms of that is reflect our identity and culture and context so that it can work well. So I think that, of course, learning from others is important, but also have to reflect to our own identity. With that, I thank you. I hope I answer some of your questions. Thank you, Novita-san.
Of course, you answer my question. Collaboration is great. Okay, so I would like to ask you again for the closing statement, as I would like to end the session. Could you please give your closing statement, Dr. Promin?
Thank you so much. I just would like again to thank all the audience that I think you participate from different parts of the ASEAN. I wish you all stay safe during this hard time. And I think it's important that the life changing is not always negative, but I think it's a positive that advance ASEAN connectivity through digital. And this is a way that we can push another dimension. So that when there is a problem, there is an opportunity. So I think I wish you all healthy and stay healthy. And thank you so much, by the way. And also thank the organizers and thank Novita particularly for facilitating this session. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I hope you also good health. So thank you very much, Dr. Promin, for giving such an interesting discussion. It is very great opportunity to have wonderful knowledge from you. And we are so happy that you have come here in this panel session. Also hope to have collaboration with you again in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to an end of this international webinar model ASEAN Meeting University of Pertamina 2020. We would like to say thanks again for the presenters, speakers, their informative and interesting talk, and to audience for your active participation. So the result of 4 participants that have give the best questions and 2 participants that have give the best summary will be announced on Instagram of the committee at mem.univpertamina latest by a week after the webinar held. All of the winner will get rewards and the company will contact personally to you. So hopefully this presentation will be beneficial for everybody. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope to see you again in the near future. And I apologize if I made mistake during the webinar. I should end my session here. I will give it back to Master of Ceremony, Fendi and Keista. Thank you very much and good afternoon, everyone. See you again.
Thank you, Ms. Novita. Once again, we appreciated all participants who participated in this entire webinar series from start to finish, and we remind to all webinar attendees, do not forget to fill out whose link have been shared through the chat box.
Apresiasi kami yang sebesar-besarnya kepada seluruh pembicara dan tentunya kepada seluruh peserta yang telah mengikuti acara dari awal hingga akhir. Untuk itu, kami ingatkan kepada seluruh peserta bahwa pengisian Google Form akan digunakan sebagai data untuk mendistribusikan e-sertifikat, sehingga pastikan kepada seluruh peserta untuk dapat mengisinya.
It doesn't feel like we are the end of the event. We ask the Committee of Model Asian Meeting Universitas Pertamina 2020. Thank you very much for the participation of all invited guests and attendees.
Sekiranya ada perkataan dan perbuatan yang tidak berkenan di hati selama prosesi acara berlangsung, saya, Fendi Irawan, dan rekan saya Keista, mewakili seluruh panitia yang bertugas, memohon maaf yang sebesar-besarnya. Semoga acara ini dapat bermanfaat bagi kita semua. Akhir kata, kami izin pamit undur diri. Wabillahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.